Hi everyone, welcome back to Cosplay Closet. This is our third episode of making our, specifically my Digimon Kigurumi. As you can see, my body is nice and finished, and it's not really in focus, so whatever. Kind of, sorta, not really.
Yeah, they can see that wrinkleness really crisply now.
Yeah, it's gonna get washed. It doesn't matter. So now that the body's done, even though I don't have pockets, the pockets will come after we do this next part, which is gonna be the hood. So I'll walk you through how I end up doing the ears, doing the hood, and tacking on the 3 horns for Digimon. So let's go. So we had to make our own pattern pieces for Terriermon and Lopmon's ear. They're not this typical single rabbit ear. What ends up happening is their ears kind of course, taper at the top to meet the head, but then they get elongated down at the bottom and they meet into 3 points. So what I had Jason do is on tissue paper, draw out the ear. Initially this was a full piece, so it looked like that. Now, because the tissue paper is so flimsy, Jason decided to use the loose painter's tape to try and reinforce it. Ideally, he probably would have used cardstock to make it even more reinforced and not as flimsy as still with the blues painter's tape. After we had gotten the pattern all cut out, I cut out where I think just the pink needed to be, or green in this case for Terriermon, and then what was going to be white and or brown. After getting the basic ear template done, Terriermon and Lopmon also have stripes on their ears. And so I had Jason cut out a template for the stripes, and then I went and I cut out the pink out of the stripes. Now, Terriermon only has the 1 horn in the center of his head, so that was going to be fairly easy for me to do. Lopmon, on the other hand, she's got 3 horns. She's got 2 that are roughly positioned right where her ears are, and then 1 up in the front. To cut out the basic shape for the horns and her tail, I used my mom's triangle cutter. If I recall right, my horns are gonna be... Okay, so I measured my horns out to be 6 inches in length. What's going to end up happening is, after everything's said and done, those are actually probably going to be about 5 inches after I tack everything to the actual hood itself. So with our ears, and really any ears in general that you want to try and put on a hood, you're going to have to cut out 4 pieces for each. So I've got 2 pieces here of the brown, 2 pieces here of the brown, 2 pieces here of the pink, and 2 pieces here of the pink. This is going to give you that sandwich effect so that you essentially have a front and a back piece. If you were only to cut out 1 piece, you'd only be realistically making 1 ear. You have to think of it kind of, okay, so here are my 2 pieces. I'm going to sew down this way and down that way. So there's my 1 ear, and then I'll do it the same on this side, and there's my other ear. So right now I'm working on the strips for the ears, and that's basically the entire outline. That's the entire outline of the ear. Jason didn't want me to do the actual size of the ear. He wanted it to look more like his, so we had to recut it. And it's got an inch of overlay so that when I fold it over, it'll have at least a finished rounded look to it here. But in order for it to maintain the shape and not look square-ish when I do it, I'm ironing it down on top of or using the pattern, I should say, as a guideline so that it'll maintain its shape. When I did Jason's, I didn't use the iron. Well, I should say I didn't turn the iron on and use it. I had more time to go ahead and just let the iron sit on top of it overnight for it to be able to maintain its shape. But since Acen is in 3 days, let's see, today's Tuesday. Yeah, 3 days. I kind of need this done and in place now. So what'll happen, since this is almost pretty decent, of course I'll take the actual pattern piece out and then I'll separate the two pieces. What'll happen is I'll refold the pattern itself for the strip, and then let's assume that that just doesn't look dumb, okay guys? This piece will end up going on top of the ear over on this side, and then I'll top stitch on top of it. So now that I got my stripes sewn to one half of my ear, it's time to get the other half of the ear sewn onto it. So you'll probably always hear in doing stitching, right sides together. This is one right side, this is my other right side, and so I'll line it up. Now, after I get everything pinned together, I'll end up sewing it. Fix that because I'm anal. Now, the ears have always posed a bit of a difficulty with me. And essentially what I like to try to do is keep it a continuous stitch all the way through. So I would start at this point, go all the way down, follow it around the points, and then continue it back up. With Jason's, I wasn't able to do that. What I have to end up doing is I'll go straight down one side and come all the way off the ear. Start from the other side of the ear over on this side, which I hope is in frame. You'll follow it around the second ear and over onto this ear point. Come off this ear point and then start from this end side and go all the way up. That's the easiest way. first ear is done. Now to turn it inside up to see how it turned out. Now, I'm expecting there to be bunching where the points are. You fix that by clipping around to make it more rounded. So, I'll show you what I mean in just a second as soon as I fight with it. I turned Jason's ears inside out so many times that eventually the seams almost became frayed. Starting to worry it was going to fall apart. It's like, oh no, please tell me I did decent enough seams. Alright, this is where my chopstick comes in handy. When I can't get those bottom halves of the ears out, stick the chopstick in, and you round it out. Come on, give me that point. There we go. There's one. There's two. And a three. Let's do this flat. Alright, and so hopefully you can see that it's bunched here. Like I said, you'll fix that by turning it back. I won't do that just yet. I want to make sure that my seams... Ooh, I did those really good. That one's a little bit off. That's still okay. Alright, everything's laying pretty good, except for, of course, those bottom parts. So now you turn it back right side out. Now technically you could have cut it before turning it out. I like to double check things before actually committing to the cut, as it were. You know that old standby, measure twice, cut once? Yeah. Oh my god. Pain in my left ear. That's why when I do the second one, I'm just going to cut you. Unless I definitely screw up. But I shouldn't. Actually, I shouldn't say that because Murphy's Law with me. Anything that can happen will. That's why you should never rob a bank with me. And the end is on central. And again, out like that. Pull you out like that. And where is the good scissors? Seriously, Jason? There we go. Good scissors. Shut up. Alright, we're probably gonna clip it about here-ish. Now you really probably can't tell from there, but literally all I'm doing is just taking little snips and going in and cutting. I don't want to say that you want to get as close to the seam as possible because there is a potential for you to actually cut the seam and then all your nice hard work will be undone. But you want to get pretty close to it. Oftentimes, the more you cut, the better rounded it's going to look. This is not always the case. It depends on the type of curvature that you did with your item. If you were doing, say, like a panda bear's ear, I would probably only do maybe about 6 cuts around that circle. But it depends on how big your ear is also, so. Smaller scissors are probably better to get around these corners than these honkin' ones. So after getting everything all nice and clipped together, that's roughly how the ears are gonna lay. As you can see, it's still slightly bunched, but it's not as bad as it initially was. If I really wanted to get super close, I could attempt to unbunch it. While I may be a chemist and I may have steady hands when pouring like one acid, from a beaker into another beaker, I don't trust myself at all with scissors. So I'm gonna leave it at that and I'm gonna be happy. On to the second ear. Alright, now you may be wondering, Samantha, why are you hugging a gigantic bag of stuffing? Well, I need it for the next part. Now that the ears are done, I get to move on to doing the horns. So as soon as I sew up 2 sides of the horns, I'll stuff the living crud out of them. Alright, now you can't see it, but this up here is where my 2 seams intersect. What I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to cut that part off just a little bit above where they intersect. This is going to reduce the bulk of the point so that it actually becomes more of a point and it's easier to deal with. Alright, so here's the triangle that hasn't been turned right side out. Here's the triangle that has. When I turn this one right side out like this, I'll end up taking the chopstick, I'll shove it in as far as I can go to get that nice point in there. And then I'll feed it along the side, pushing out the seam to make it as flat as possible. Now you'll notice that I've got these little triangle ends down here. What'll end up happening is I'll end up cutting. I'll take my ruler, I'll line it up the best that I can, and then those will get rotary cuttered off. That way I have a nice flat bottom to deal with. Finished 2 out of 3. It's late as balls. Well, I shouldn't say as balls, because it's probably going on, what, 3 o'clock on? Yeah, it's 3:21 Central Time. I am going to sleep. I'm gonna finish doing the horn tomorrow, and then we'll go ahead and I'll cut out the stabilizer, show you how to do that, and then tack the horns on, tack the ears on, tack the hood to the actual body, and bada bing, bada boom, it'll be 9/10 of the way done, just like Jason's, and then I'll slap together his green, slap together my pink, and voila, we're done. Good night. It's the next morning. Well, technically afternoon. I slept like shit! Ah! But there's no rest for the weary, right? So we're gonna finish up this last horn. Hopefully Jason can actually get it so that you can see how I'm doing it. If I recall correctly, the stitch is called a blanket stitch. We'll go more into that later. After the horn's done, we'll move on to the actual hood itself, tacking on the ears and the horns and sewing it to the body. So let's try and stitch this puppy up, shall we? Alright, so this is the basic layout of the hood. As you can see, I've got the ears and the horns positioned where it is that I think that they're going to look best on the hood in relation to not only my head, but also the picture for Lotmon. This hood, okay, so when you cut the hood, you cut it on a fold, okay? That's what I've got here. So when I start to tack down all these items, I'm not going to go through both layers of the hood. I'm only going to do the top layer. This is so that when I flip the seams over, you're not going to actually see the seams. It's just going to be just the hood itself. It'll give it a nice finished look, and it'll look like a professional did it, even though it was done by measly old little me. Look at that! My hood's all done. Everything's tacked on, so it's not coming off. And you can see, you don't see any of the stitches. Now, a problem that Jason had with his hood was when we had gotten it sewn up, the front was floppy. And he didn't like that too much. He wanted it to be more stable. Segway! That leads me to this. Is that still in focus? Okay. This is stabilizer. Basically, this is used to make things a bit more rigid. Not by much. I mean, it still has a bit of flexibility to it, but it's going to keep it a little bit more rigid than just the straight cotton itself. So what I have ended up doing is I've taken the elastic piece for the hood, I've cut it out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to lay this on top of the stabilizer, I'm going to cut that out, and then I'm going to lay it in between the two pieces of fabric, basically sandwiching it. And then I'm going to sew down the sides and fasten it all in there. Alright, so my pins are outlining my bias strip. Basically what's going to happen is I'm going to take the machine, I'm going to stitch where my pins are as close as possible, just so that it kind of locks it into place. Between the horns is probably going to be a little bit difficult. I'm going to see if I can get it with the machine. If not, I'm probably going to end up hand stitching it. I hate hand stitching though, so I hope it works. Yeah, so let's start sewing.
Okay. Got it seamed. Now all I have to do, fold it over, seam up the back, and then it'll actually look like a hood. And yes, to answer your question, I'm still tired.
Good?
Mm-hmm.
Alright, so the hood done the way that you're supposed to do it. Looks like a white supremacist hat. So in order to fix that, what you end up doing is instead of just going in a straight line, which is what the pattern tells you to do, you kind of curve off a bit, depending on how rounded you want it and how much smaller you want it is going to depend on the steepness of your curve. And then after you've got it to a nice curve to where you like it, you snip it. There we go. This is probably going to be how my hood's definitely going to look. Jason says that it looks good. I haven't even looked at myself yet. See? My hood's done, and it's attached. And apparently I look like a Sith Lord. Who knew? It looks kind of freaky now because I'm still wearing my yoga pants on. You don't see it, but for me it looks freaky. Jason really likes it.
You couldn't stand up.
No, standing up's work. Standing up is a lot of work. I'm super tired. Super tired.
Just to give some context, the convention is not tomorrow, but the day after that. So we're pretty much down to crunch time. However, this probably won't air on the YouTubes until after the convention is done. But yeah, we're pretty exhausted at this point. I look like I have a black eye because I haven't really been sleeping. And she beats me. Yeah, it shows on camera. But yeah, so there you go. That's all just because I haven't been sleeping. Her hood is choking her.
Oh, okay. You're okay. needs to breathe. So, what do I need to tell these peoples?
That it's done. Probably give them a better look at it.
It's done. You're not getting a better look at it though.
What did we learn from this process?
Zippers are a pain in the ass.
Uh-huh.
Listen to Adam Savage when he says, ask yourself how you're going to screw this up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Always have a backup for your backup.
Where did we learn that?
With your hood.
Wouldn't that fall under measure twice, cut once?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Seam ripper's your best friend.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be afraid to fail. It's all in the learning process.
Okay, yeah.
I am my own worst critic.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
By 2 spools of brown.
Yeah, definitely. 2 spools of brown.
Actually, I ran out of brown. And I don't know if we're going to be able to show it. Nope. Out of frame.
Oh, you did the... Oh, you did those with pink.
Yes. You're just now noticing this?
Yeah.
I've been wearing this for like a good minute and you're just now noticing? Yeah, so the lining's done in pink now. So, because I ran out of brown.
If I'd have known that, I'd been like, we're going to get more brown.
Nope.
Is that why you didn't tell me?
Yep.
I thought you loved me.
Nope. I mean...
I'm hurt.
Doki?
Anyways.
What else? I guess I'm only okay at making patterns. Quit looking at the monitor still.
It just looks so good. Yeah, I think that's...
What did you learn from watching me do all this?
I learned a lot about editing video and looking up all about music rights and how to produce and direct better, because I've not really done much of that. But yeah, all my learning experiences were on the other end of that camera.
So you didn't learn anything from me sewing?
I learned get 2 spools of brown.
I was expecting you to say, I learned to make Samantha do all the work.
I learned to read while Samantha did most of the work. No, I learned. I learned a little bit that I didn't know.
Only a little?
Only a little. I mean, like, I wasn't doing it. I learn best when I'm doing it. So, I wasn't doing it. And I didn't learn the best.
Well, I was trying to get you to do it. You were always like, Quit picking at her nose. She's not done yet. Stop it. Leave her alone.
Picking her nose.
What did she do to you? By the way, these are my amigurumis that I made us. So it's our amigurumis to go with our kigurumis. They rhyme.
You're such a simp boy.
If you liked our videos, go ahead and hit subscribe so you can see more of our crazy antics. Me hopefully sewing more stuff and screwing up a whole hell of a lot. Leave me a comment down below. What'd you like? What didn't you like? I need these criticisms to get betters. What else am I missing? Find us on Twitter, Facebook, Etsy. Mostly Etsy. Instagram. I never remember Instagram because I don't have an Instagram.
It's a recent addition to the group.
Is that everything? I think that's everything.
I think that's everything. Hit that thumbs up too.
Nah.
That helps us be found easier by other people.
Oh, well, maybe. It's not like we're putting a gun to your head. We're having a little Shyla talk. Bye.
Oh God.